Thanks for tuning in. Like and subscribe to catch all our chess action. This is a book move. The opening is called Queen's Pawn Game.
Control the center with a knight, preparing to develop other pieces and potentially creating a strong pawn center. This move also supports the pawn to d5 pawn, which is a common choice in the Queen's Pawn Game.
This is a book move. The opening is called Indian Defense, Knight's Variation.
Pawn to d5.
Developing the bishop to a strong central square, putting pressure on black's position and preparing to control the king side.
I played pawn to c5 to challenge black's central control and prepare for potential pawn breaks on the queen side. This move also pins black's knight on c6, creating a tactical opportunity.
Pawn to c3 is excellent. Pawn to e3 is best. This defends a bishop on f4.
Queen to b6.
Queen to b3.
Knight to c6 is best. This develops a knight.
Pawn captures on c5 is best. This is a trade.
Queen captures on c5 is the best move.
Control of the center with e3, preparing to develop other pieces and supporting the pawn structure. This move also slightly weakens the king side, but it's a minor price to pay for the strategic advantage.
Preparing to control the center with the pawn on f5, while also supporting the pawn to d5 pawn and preparing to develop the rest of the pieces.
Bishop to b5 is excellent. This develops a bishop. This pins a piece of the opponent to their king. Knight from file b to d2 is best. This develops a knight.
Bishop to e7.
Knight from file b to d2.
Kingside castle is best.
Pawn to h3 is the best move.
Knight to h5 is the best move.
I played bishop captures on c6 to attack Lucas's pawn on c6, creating a potential pin on his knight on c6. This move also opens up the d file for my rook to potentially use later in the game.
Bishop captures on c6.
Knight to e5 is excellent. This attacks the bishop. Pawn to a4 is best.
Bishop to b5.
Preparing to develop the queenside pieces, rook from file f to e1 supports the pawn on pawn to d4 and prepares to potentially play d3, putting pressure on black's position and controlling the pawn to d5 square.
Rook from file f to d8 is the best move.
Pawn to a4 is the best move.
Bishop to e8 is the best move.
Knight captures on c6.
I played pawn captures on c6 to challenge black's control of the queenside and create space for my pieces to develop. The pin on black's knight on pawn to c6 also makes it difficult for them to defend their pawn structure.
Pawn to e4 is the best move.
Bishop to d6.
I played bishop captures on d6 to challenge Lucas's pawn structure and create a potential pin on his bishop. By exchanging pawns, I opened up the d file for my rook to potentially use later.
Queen captures on d6.
Knight to f3 is excellent. Pawn to b4 is best.
Preparing to develop the king side, pawn to h6 attacks the bishop on g4, potentially creating a pin on the bishop, while also supporting the pawn on f7, preparing for a potential pawn storm on the king side.
Pawn to c4 is excellent. This offers a trade. Pawn to h3 is best.
Knight to e4 is excellent. Rook from file to b8 is best. This develops a rook. By placing the rook on an open file, it controls important columns.
Rook from file to b1 is excellent. This develops a rook. By placing the rook on an open file, it controls important columns. Rook from file to c1 is best. This defends a queen on c2. This develops a rook.
I played rook from file to b8 to prepare for the potential pawn storm on the queen side, pinning the bishop on pawn to b5 and creating space for the rook to potentially attack the king side. This move also supports the central pawns and prepares for a potential counterattack.
Knight to d4.
I played rook to b4 to attack Lucas's pawn on d5, creating a pin on his knight on c6. This move also prepares to develop the queenside pieces and puts pressure on black's position.
Pawn captures on d5 is best. This is a trade.
I played pawn captures on d5 to challenge black's central pawn structure and create space for my pieces to develop. The move also pins black's knight on d5, putting pressure on the pawn center.
Knight to b5 is good. This creates a fork on queen and pawn. Pawn to b3 is best.
Queen to a6 is good. This defends a pawn on a7. Queen to b8 is best. This defends a pawn on a7.
I played pawn to b3 to challenge black's control of the queenside and prepare to develop the queenside pieces. The move also slightly weakens the queenside pawn structure, but I aim to create counterplay on the queenside.
Rook to c8 is best. This attacks the queen. By placing the rook on an open file, it controls important columns.
Developing the queen to e2, putting pressure on black's position and preparing to control the center with d4. This move also pins black's knight on f6, limiting its mobility.
Queen to b6.
Pawn to f3 is good. This attacks the knight. Queen to b2 is best.
I played knight to c3 to support the central pawn on pawn to d4 and prepared to develop the rest of the pieces. This move also pins the knight on c6, making it difficult for Lucas to play nc4 and prepares to potentially play pawn captures on d5 in the future.
Knight captures on c3 is a strong move, attacking black's knight and gaining control of the pawn to c4 square. This move also puts pressure on black's position, making it difficult for them to defend their pawn structure.
I played rook captures on c3 to challenge Lucas's pawn structure and create a potential weakness on the queenside. The move also pins the knight on j8, making it difficult for Lucas to defend against potential attacks.
I played king to h1 to prevent check, maintaining pawn structure and preparing for potential counterplay on the king side. The move also slightly weakens the king side, but it's a necessary sacrifice to avoid a more significant threat.
Rook from file b captures on b3.
Rook captures on b3 is the best move.
Queen captures on b3 is best. This defends a rook on c3. This attacks the pawn. This move gains a tempo.
Attacking the queenside pawns and preparing to potentially push d4 d5 while also putting pressure on black's position and creating a potential weakness on the queenside.
Rook to c2 is good. This attacks the queen. Queen to a3 is best. This attacks the pawn.
Queen to d1 is good. Queen to f1 is best.
Queen to a2 is best. This attacks the pawn. This move gains a tempo.
Rook to g1 is best.
Rook to c3 is good. This attacks the pawn. Rook to c5 is best. This attacks the pawn. This move gains a tempo.
Queen to d4 is good. This defends a pawn on e3. This creates a fork on rook and pawn. Pawn to e4 is best. This offers a trade.
Queen captures on f5 pins the black king on f7, creating a potential weakness. This move also opens up the b file for a potential rook check, putting pressure on the black position. The game is over. Black wins.